Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome once again to Barcelona, and it is time for the second day of testing in the 2021 GP4 uh, preseason. It should be a quite entertaining affair, especially after all we've seen yesterday. The field is much closer, and I am your secondary commentator, Robert Ionescu, today. Just like yesterday, I'm joined by Joseph Willows, though for tomorrow there will be somebody else, I believe. But for today, you're stuck with us, so hey there, guys. Hey there, Joe. How you been?
Hello, everyone. Yeah, very, very good. And hello, everyone. Yes, it is going to be very, very interesting because, yesterday it was very, very interesting with the field spread being as close as it was, and also some very surprising results yesterday as well. But whether we'll have the same case, we'll have to wait and see. Well, they've got a challenge in their hands because, as you can see, the first part of the session, we're going to have some rain. But as you can see, the track is still dry. So whether it's just going to be a shower or whether it will wetten up a bit and then get dry towards the end of the session, we'll have to wait and see. So potential for changeable conditions, but we'll wait and see. But I think without further ado, we might as well get into day 2 of pre-season testing. And to talk about yesterday, Rob, I think the biggest shock out of all of it was probably Rahul Patel getting third in the brand new Lamborghini team.
Yeah, indeed. Like I said yesterday, Lamborghini have no prior data of anything, and somehow they built a very competitive car. And surely some other teams, particularly Mercedes, might be suspicious of that, but I think they've done a good job so far. And this test will be a great tool for all the teams to gather some good data. And Lamborghini are definitely starting on the right foot, for now at least.
Oh, indeed. And one thing I want to point out as well, of course, is that it seems like all the drivers are going out on dry tyres. So it looks like there is no rain at the moment, but we will wait and see, of course. But the first car coming out on track is Roman Quagg in the Alfa Romeo. His teammate Andre Verdere was the first to go out yesterday. This time it's going to be Andrea's teammate that is going to lead proceedings on this final day at Barcelona. Of course, the final 2 days will take place at Sakhir. And as I was saying, there was no rain. You can just see on the screen right now, there is now rain starting to appear. But so far, it does
Only
appear
just.
dry at the moment. So we'll wait and see if it will wetten up the track or not. But so far, they're looking at some dry runnings at the moment.
Yeah, indeed. Hopefully, it shouldn't dampen their spirits too much, and that pun was intentional. But nevertheless, we got Roman Quagg coming back to the top class after a few years off. If I'm not mistaken, he's won here at Barcelona in the past in 2014, so he's got some experience around here. Let's see what he can do now that he's re-entered the series and leads the Alfa Romeo team alongside Andre Federi. He was faster than his teammate in testing, of course, and if he is faster today as well, then he'll not have to concede his seat for day 4 to the test driver. He'll remain in the car. But
Yes,
I would like to go on to a flying lap with him on board once we get onto it, of course.
we'll see. Of course, it depends whether Yuri can be bothered to do that because he does like to keep it on the spectator cam. So let's
Well,
see
here
if
we
we will.
go nevertheless. Roman Quagg about to begin the first lap of day 2, and it's a long straight. This long back straight, the only real overtaking opportunity. There are some others if you're ballsy enough, but here we go from Roman Quagg. Hard braking zone into turn 1, but you need to be careful. Don't take too much curb because it's very deceiving. Get on early on the throttle and don't go too wide. We've seen someone go wide there yesterday in turn 2 as we're jumping on board the Franco Gamba instead. Quagg has completed sector 1, but we don't have to talk about that. Gamba with a decent line for the first chicane, looking a little tentative into 2, and now carrying all the speed he's got into 3. Very, very confident in that car, flat out. And up the gears he goes, up, not hitting 7th gear quite, but 20.4 for Franco Gamba in the first sector there, as now he'll be approaching turn 5. Very careful there, you don't want to overshoot your braking because it really doesn't forgive you if you go onto the gravel. And now his exit wasn't exactly the best as you go down the hill towards this chicane. Very, very important to use all of the track, but don't be greedy as now go up the hill for Kamsa. Try to keep it within the wide lines and carry that momentum. Try not to downshift, of course, and 51.1 for Gamma in the middle sector. As he approaches the hairpin, which has been reworked, of course, in real life, Quagg is about to finish his lap. He's just exited the final chicane and enter the final corner as Kai is trying to make a move on Williams, failing to do so, but Quagg is setting a lap time of 1 minute 21.2. Guy is already going faster than that, but with the traffic he's got at the moment, I doubt it'll stay that way. In any case, we expect Franco Gamba to go quicker than Quagg, but will he do it?
We'll have to see, of course, and
No.
we'll do in we will do in a bit. So anyway, as Car now then will cross the line soon. We've got some lap times on the board. Garver only fourth
Wilson's
lap
just
time
gone
by.
fastest. What's going on with Haas? They're pretty slow yesterday, but they seem to have picked up the pace. Amelia Wilson currently fastest at the moment, as Kaz gone P5, compromised last sector, of course, quite massively. Gal in last place at the moment.
One person that wasn't compromised was Garber, of course, and for some reason he's only fourth on that lap as Perinen now goes to the top by 62 thousandths a second, but beaten by Roke by only just a solitary thousandth that time by, so not much in between Roke and Perinen that time by, as Car still getting held up by the Williams in front, both of course using the same engines, the Mercedes engine, as more lap times start to approach
Alan
on the board.
Burns got P7, and Jake Galloway, the man who topped yesterday, is only P12. Chris Chatfield, his teammate, P5 in the Ferrari.
Indeed so. Now, one thing I do want to point out as well, of course, is that we did talk about yesterday's. Lopez goes to the top now by 0.2 of a second, so maybe some better pace for Mercedes today. Chung goes to second in the Lamborghini. But as I was saying, one thing I do want to point out as well, of course, we mentioned yesterday that there was a talk about potentially doing a test to see if we could try and do no spare cars for Grand Prix 4, of course, because Flo obviously found something where we could actually have no spare cars going out on the track. Well, it seems that we've not got that again today because, of course, there was something that was discovered again yesterday during the trials, of course, and it didn't work out the way that both Flo and Yuri anticipated. So they're going to be doing some further testing, but yet again, no spare cars again for... Sorry, no... what am I trying to say?
No ban on spare cars.
No ban on the spare cars. We've still got the spare cars out there as Q-Park has a big lockup. So hopefully we might see it during Bahrain, but we'll have to wait and see, of course. It does need some further testing still between Yuri and Flo, of course. But at the moment, Lopez at the top of the standings, and Verderi goes to third in the Alfa Romeo. There has been a lot of traffic on this lap, but just trying to have a look at the
yesterday, Yuri did tell us that some teams overperformed, some teams underperformed. But it looks like Mercedes, Alfa Romeo, and Haas definitely underperformed today. They're doing much better right now. Lopez heading up the timesheets. But also, don't forget Andre Federa up in P4 and Amelia Wilson up in P7 in the Haas and Alfa respectively. The other way around. Lopez has improved yet again. But these teams definitely hit some potential yesterday. They're going quicker already. And McLaren, what the hell is going on with them? They were near the top yesterday. Now they're all over the place.
Just wanted to point out as well, though, the fastest time yesterday was a 1 minute 20.287. So Lopez is still 5 tenths off of Galloway's time from yesterday. So I don't think we've seen the true representation of everybody yet so far. Because as I mentioned, there were some teams out there that were stuck in traffic. We saw the two Ferraris a little bit earlier on getting caught up in some traffic as well. But it seems that they've
There's also Car in trouble.
And we also had Car who had traffic as well, stuck behind a Williams. Meanwhile, we're looking at Verderi, meanwhile, who's currently in fourth position as he now makes his way through the chicane. The car now goes to P1. It seems like he's cleared the traffic, so he now finds himself 13 thousandths quicker than Franco Lopez, as now Verderi will now cross the line. What can he achieve? And he does not improve, stays where he is at this point in time, which is P number 5. And so, yeah, very interesting stuff so far. As you can see, the clouds are starting to gather, but so far we've not seen the tracks dampen out just yet. We have got rain in here, but so far the track is not wetting. So whether it will wet up or not, we'll have to wait and see, because there wasn't much rain on the radar when we first started the session. Galloway goes up into 12th position, and so not exactly the times we saw yesterday from Jake Galloway.
Underwhelming.
A little bit indeed, as Daniel Fraser now makes his way towards the hairpin, as he's now 1/10 down on his personal best in the middle sector. And so at the moment, Fraser finds himself in 13th position, so roughly about where he was yesterday, of course, because he did, I think it was roughly around about 15th yesterday, so kind of roughly where he was yesterday, so kind of continuing where he left off. As
a little bit up in the middle sector, 400s.
And we might as well talk about AlphaTauri, because yesterday, what a dreadful day for them. And it seems like today, nothing has improved so far. It seems that the team might have gone backwards, Rob.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what's going on with them exactly. Maybe they spent a little too much on driver wages, because Gal is quite hot property, you have to pay him a lot to get him to agree to sign. But meanwhile, speaking of Miklos Gal, his rival for second place last season, Marca, has remained at the top. He's just improved on his lap.
On a 1 minute 20.5, still 3 tenths off of Galloway's best time from yesterday, which was a 1 minute 20.287. So
I'm not sure what was happening to Mercedes yesterday, but today they've clearly woken up, as Gal has another moment. He had one earlier yesterday. Now he didn't quite spin, but he lost the car and a heap of time in the first sector there. Considered that lap completely compromised.
a mistake there for Miklos Gal going wide at turn 3. I think he's about the 4th person to make a mistake at that corner because I think we had 3 mistakes yesterday going through into that corner. We also had
If
the
I'm not
mistake
wrong,
from
I
Lope.
think he was one of the errors.
Can't remember. I know that Anderson was one. I know that Griffiths was. In fact, no, he wasn't. I think it was both Williamses and Anderson yesterday.
All right,
So
right. In any case, we're on board Daniel Fraser as he's about to finish another lap. Lap number 5, of course, on his counter. But let's see if he's got some more pace than that has. Currently in P13, 5 places behind his teammate. Though only a tenth and a half down. He didn't improve on this lap, though.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. It's dry. That's why high and the people are on dry tires. It's not because they just feel like it. It's because the track is dry, and we don't know if the track will get wet or not because it's only going to be a brief shower from what we've seen.
Yeah,
But
this
anyway,
little bit of a drizzle doesn't seem to be harming anyone. Lap times are still appearing competitive. Mercedes aren't by all I mean by no means are looking slower than yesterday. They've actually made a step up, and this is quite an entertaining session so far. And it's only been 10 minutes.
indeed so, as they now make their way through the right-hander, and as now we're looking for Dairy, who's trying to get by on one of the Alpha Tauris. I think that might have been Miklos Gal trying to get by there.
Either way, he's gonna come in this lap.
Is indeed, but so far we have a Mercedes 1-2, very familiar at the top so far. So who knows? Maybe they were sandbagging yesterday, as some people have suggested in the stream chat. Who knows, really? But as Yuri pointed out yesterday, you've got to remember there is that variation. There's also teams yesterday that overperformed and underperformed, and you also have teams also going for different setups as well. So we don't really. To what we were talking about with the unpredictability, we don't really know who's actually got the best car on the grid. Meantime,
That
speaking of
is
somebody
true.
quickly yesterday, it looks like Galloway's making a little bit of a mess of it in the entrance of turn 6 and 7, but luckily
Looked
didn't.
a little bit unsettled there on exit of the chicane. That might have harmed his run to Camps a bit, but Franco Gamba's just gone fastest. Dislodged car from top spot by 3/100ths of a second. Meanwhile, Galloway losing a heap of time in the middle sector.
Yes, indeed. Garber going to the top by 30 thousandths of a second there. So obviously he came second yesterday, so now he's gone to the top, but still just under 3 tenths slower than Galloway's best time of yesterday. As meantime, speaking of a Ferrari, Chatfield's just gone back out onto the track as we look now at Miklos Gal, who finished last yesterday and so far down in last so far. But unlike yesterday, doesn't appear to be too far off 21st place, man.
Well, he's only 1,000th behind him, so I definitely hope he can get ahead of him for his sake. At the moment, that does appear to be the case. But on the topic of teams overperforming and underperforming, Joe, as Emilio Wilson just goes 4th, what improvement that is. I mentioned Haas and Alfa Romeo, and Mercedes, of course, underperforming yesterday. But we need to look on the other end of the spectrum, because McLaren, as Lopez has just gone fastest again, McLaren, they have overperformed dramatically yesterday. They're nowhere right now, as Griffith goes 13th. Maybe Ferrari have overperformed as well, but McLaren is definitely the massive surprise here today.
Yeah, at the moment only 18th and 19th for the McLaren, so I wonder what's going on there. But Lopez now finds himself just under a tenth slower than Galloway's best time. So this seems like Mercedes may have woken up from yesterday or took the sandbags off just to give themselves some reassurance that their car isn't too bad. So, but it does seem like Mercedes, if this is anything to go by, unless this is just them overperforming, because again we don't know because we're in the unknown. Maybe they still have a quick car for this season. We'll have to wait and see, of course. And if that is the case, you definitely know for sure that Carl will definitely want revenge after what happened last season with him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Though I think his opponent, his number of opponents will be more than just the one. Sure, he may beat Lopez, but if he beats Lopez, it might not be a battle for the championship. It could, for all it's worth, it could be a battle for what, P5 in the championship or something like that. Because this season is very, very unpredictable. Like I said yesterday, we're in uncharted territory. And just because Mercedes are P1 and P3 right now, doesn't mean that'll be the case when you get to Melbourne.
Exactly, because as we mentioned yesterday, they finished 10th and 12th in testing. So who knows really what's going to happen. Meantime, Galloway, 74 thousandths off his personal best in the first sector and 3 tenths off of Lopez at this point in time as the Ferrari makes his way down towards the left-handed hairpin. And
looks like Galloway's about to be overtaken by his former team, the Red Bull, or not quite. He's still holding position for the moment. But Miklos Gal, clearly not thinking about the short-term plans. He has said multiple times that he wants to build a long-term project, which is why he decided to move to AlphaTauri. If it will pay off in the long run or not, we don't know. but in the short term, it looks like a catastrophic decision.
Yeah, indeed. He mentioned that yesterday, of course, that he was going to be changing his targets, of course, and trying to build the team
Chatfield
up.
has just improved to go P6 in the meantime, sorry to interrupt, as Lopez is being impeded by the Aston. He's just overtaken him as a matter of fact. He was up on his personal best in Sector 1.
Yeah, indeed. So perhaps the Mercedes does have some pace after all. So who knows, really? But
Don't forget,
maybe.
Sector 1 is mostly a straight line and a fast corner, so you need to have a good engine to get a good sector time over there in that section of the track in which we're at right now with Jake Galloway. So Mercedes, they clearly didn't slack off. On their power unit development, as Lopez is now trying to make a move on the McLaren.
He does do. And just want to point out as well, it has stopped raining. You can see there is no rain now on the camera, so it seems like it was just a brief spell. But we will wait and see, of course.
Yeah, indeed. Truck should get some more rubber in, of course, and it'll be very interesting to see what happens.
Yes, indeed. So now, what was I was going to say something, but I kind of lost what I was going to say now. I was going to mention earlier. You were wondering which Red Bull that was trying to pass Gal. That was George Roke, of course. And the best way that you can tell which driver it is,
because Gamba's in the pits.
And not just that, but also as well, Gamba obviously has Honda on the rear wing, whereas George Roke has Acura on the rear wing, the American.
Yeah,
Honda.
true that. As Chatfield 2/10 of his personal best. But he's been somewhat consistent. He was P7, I believe, yesterday. He's up in the P6 now. This time, the big difference is, of course, he's in front of his teammate by 3/10 of a second. And this is a very strange season because for the first time in forever, Ferrari has two British drivers, which might feel bittersweet to the Tifosi a little bit, I guess, as we got 30 minutes to go exactly in this session. We're a third of the way done.
They do like Eddie Irvine, so I don't think it's going to be too much of a bother for them. But anyway,
Zontag's gone P20 as Lopez, just about Towery.
Indeed,
holding him up.
It was actually up on his personal best, as you saw there on the left-hand side, but because of the Alpha Tower, he got held up as a result of that, so he wasn't able to improve. And so that was pretty much that, really. So now we look back at Galloway. He's just going around the hairpin there, and he's heading back into the pits this lap, of course. So, yeah, so far very interesting, but so far I want to point out as well, both Alfa Romeo is currently in the top 10 at the moment, of Videri and Quark. So far, very good day for them at the moment, Rob.
Absolutely right, Joe. I would like to touch on a different topic just a little bit. These two testing days have been very unpredictable, but one consistent factor that's always been there up towards the top has been Red Bull. Look at Franco Gamba, as Evan Byrne just improves to go P4. Emilian Wilson makes a move on the AlphaTauri on the Mercedes in the meantime. I got the two black cars mixed up. But yeah, in this championship, where the field can fluctuate massively from day to day, being consistent and being up towards the top every time could be key. And so far, even though it's still early days, Red Bull have always been up there.
I do wonder, though, if we are going to see something where the pecking order could change depending on what track we go to. Depending on what the each of the car's strengths are, could we potentially see a sort of 80s-esque Formula 1 where the pecking order just seemed to be different every race depending on what track they went to? Could be something. If that is the case, then I'm all up for that.
Yeah, indeed, that could very well prove to be the case. Of course, Williams and AlphaTauri appear to be not doing too well. They've been at the back on both days, but for the rest of the teams, it's fair play to everyone. Anyone can be up there. As you can see, we got Haas at P5. We got Mercedes who were nowhere yesterday, P1 and P3. This can be a very, very entertaining season.
Indeed so. As now we look at Chris Chatfield, who's just making his way out of the chicane. He's made a little bit of a hash brown of that one because
reminds me a little bit of Gal's error yesterday, except Chatfield managed to keep it on track.
Because I think that was probably the error you were referring to yesterday with Gal.
Right.
Was when he made the mistake yesterday where he went wide coming out of the chicane and, basically wrecked his lap. So,
yeah, indeed.
Now we look at Chatfield going on turn 3. Now we look at Jesus Perinen. Perinen now then in the Renault as he just gets by on the AlphaTauri of Miklos Gal at the moment. His teammate Evan Byrne getting up in 4th position at this point in time. And so far Perinen finds himself in the top 10. Just like yesterday, he was in the lower reaches of the top 10 yesterday. I think he finished in 9th, if I'm not mistaken, whilst Byrne finished in 5th.
Yes, he was 9th.
The moment that it stays like this, Perrin will not be in the car on day 4 because, of course, Byrne beat him yesterday. And, of course, Renault's test driver, for anybody who needs a reminder, is Hento Sinonome, the driver who was the test driver for McLaren last season, but now he's become the Renault test driver for this season. So so that's that really. Is now we look at Chris Chatfield as he's down on his personal best in the middle sector. So far, though, outpacing Galloway, but Galloway hasn't come back out on the track yet in a while, so I'll have to wait and see if he's able to find some pace like we saw with Chatfield just a little bit earlier on. But Chatfield in the same position as he was yesterday, Rob.
Yeah, indeed. Like I mentioned, and not too repetitive, consistency is extremely important. Obviously, it's a brand new team for Chris Chatfield, his third team in 3 seasons, as Rock has just gone P5, so Chatfield has dropped down a place. But Chris needs to find his feet at his team, because he's been propelled. He was trying his damn hardest.
As you can see, there are dots on the track, as you can see, just coming down the pit straight there. So that's the first indication that there are now actually dots on the racetrack. So maybe we could see the conditions change a little bit. We'll have to wait and see.
Maybe just a little bit, but it's on the front straight, so it shouldn't impact things too much. It's an easy flat no matter the conditions, as Gamba is being in the first sector. But on the topic of Chatfield, I wanted to say, yeah, he was trying on for dear life to cling on to AlphaTauri. He got dropped from AlphaTauri, and thanks to Roberto Gamba retiring, he was shoehorned into the Ferrari seat. So, yeah, a little bit lucky you could say, but it's quite tale that I talked to you about this right before we went on air, of course. Chatfield was trying to get retained by what could be the worst car this season, and in the end he got dropped and signed by the team which could have the best car this season. Joseph Willows improves, but only up to 18th.
There are now some more dots appearing around the track now. We saw some at turn 6, and we just saw some there at the hairpin. So it looks like the track is now slower, according to Yuri, because of the dots on the racetrack. So we might not see some improvement. We might see the odd few improvements, especially from drivers who got stuck in traffic, but nothing true dramatic. As you can see, some of the track is actually quite dark, as you can see, going around that final corner there. So it does look like it is slowly starting to get wet, but whether this will just be a brief spell of the wet
second and a half off, and you can see the spray.
It is now started to get wet. So if whether this will be just a brief spell of the wet conditions, we'll have to wait and see. Because as you saw on the weather radar just before we went out on the session, it was only going to be a brief spell. But we will wait and see, of course, if that's still going to be the case. We just saw one of the Williamses there overtake one of the AlphaTauris there.
But it should be dry towards the end of this session, of course. So these lap times we got right now, there's a strong likelihood that these won't be final.
Indeed so, as Chatfield just goes around turn 5 there. And there goes the spray again. So it looks like the spray has started to pick up as a result. So it looks like we're not going to see any improvements, at least for a while.
Oh, he's made a little bit of an error there. Very, very aggressive into the chicane. It's now up to Kamsa. Gamba is still struggling to find a way past him. But let's take another look at Chatfield's error here.
So just going into the corner, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little bit of...
Oh, he went onto the curb and lost the front end, understeered wide. And thankfully managed to get back on track, no problem. But yeah, you need to be very careful with the curbs in the wet conditions, even if it's just damp like this, as Gamba finally makes the move.
Indeed so, as Chatfield makes his way through the left and right-hander, as Gamba, as you mentioned there.
And don't forget, 2 days ago, Max Verstappen almost had an off at that very corner, so it's tricky even for the best drivers in real life, let alone for drivers in the video game.
Indeed so, as now going through the left and right-hander we go, as the conditions continue to intensify here at Spain, and it just looks like we're just going to be seeing what lap times people can just set now in these wet conditions, unless we get a dry spell towards the end of the session, as Chatfield does not improve and he's coming back into the pits. Obviously he didn't improve, but he did a 1 minute 28.642 that time by. And you've got to bear in mind as well, he made that mistake going into turn 6 and 7 there. Now, one person I want to bring up as well, Kirishima DeRosa, of course, currently down in 19th at the moment, but yesterday made himself in 4th position. I also said during the discussion stream that if the McLaren is competitive, then watch out for him this season. And, well, at the moment, we don't really know with the McLaren. Are they quick? Are they not, judging from this pace? But if they are quick, maybe Kiro is somebody to watch out for in this era.
That could be the case, yeah. But as it looks right now, the McLaren might be horrifically inconsistent. As things stand, variation is always key here in GP4, and I'm not sure what the deal is with McLaren today. Maybe they ran a different program or something like that, but they appear to be nowhere right now.
So we just saw Lopez there. They have an aquaplane moment going through into 1067. So that corner seems to be very tricky in these conditions at the moment, Rob.
Yeah, indeed. Clearly need to be very careful to get your braking right. You don't want to do a cardinal sin of braking and turn at the same time. In these wet conditions, you need all the grip you can get because you ain't getting much of that either way. As we look at the Gamba, I think that is trying to make a move on the AlphaTauri. Whether if he succeed or not, I don't know. But in any case,
I not no, he did not. In fact, because Chatfield is still behind
yeah,
the
indeed.
Red Bull at this point in time. So
He won't be behind for much longer though, because we're gonna watch him turn into the pits in a few corners time.
yeah, indeed. So I wonder if we're going to get some potential into or wet weather running then from any cars going into the pits like we're seeing now. In fact, so let's wait and see if anybody's going to attempt to go onto the wet tyres very very soon. As Chatfield now comes into the pits, and so we'll be seeing if anybody's going to be attempted to go out on the wet tyres very very soon. As we look out, and in
Looks like the
fact, I
sky
just
is
saw there.
changing there a bit.
Just saw there, it looked like one of the Aston Martins has got one of the wet weather tyres on. Whoa, a bit of contact there between Chatfield and his former teammate, David Cupot there. So,
No
yeah,
love
that's
lost between teammates, huh?
next teammates, definitely, as now GP4 is doing that thing where they seem to be going around. But at least we get a little bit of an indication on what Yuri has done with some of the pit mechanics as a result. And there is a Haas there. And, well,
He
there you
almost
go.
hit
GP4.
Wilson.
Well, GP4 did its thing there as
Oh,
Lopez
it's
has gone
going
off
wide
at the
again.
same.
Same mistake, different day, but this time obviously in different conditions.
Yeah, and well, that's the second time he's been for a trip to the gravel in that corner there. So, what is it with world champions liking that particular corner for some reason? But anyway,
And also people who speak Spanish liking that corner.
as Lopez went off there, and well, luckily didn't cause a big carnage there because there were three cars coming up towards
Nah,
him
but
when he
he's got a
rejoined the
little bit
track
of a
line.
train of cars there. He's got Williams, Renault, AlphaTauri, and maybe a Ferrari joining very shortly during the party.
Uh, well, you were P1 and 3 for quite a bit before it started raining, actually, Lopez. In fact, you're only just under a tenth slower than Galloway's time from yesterday, so it seems like the Mercedes may have found a little bit of pace from yesterday. But as you can see, Gall is on the wet weather tyres, as you can see, and I think the Renault in front might have the wet weather tyres because it just blasted past the Mercedes pretty easily as
Yeah,
Lopez is
indeed.
still on the dry tyres. So
It's clearly not Dretar territory as it stands, as God is trying to make a move on Lopez, but having to stay back right now. And I just want to touch on something, of course, which is I actually forgot what I was wanting to say. Sorry there.
that's fine, as I'm pretty sure Lopez will be peeling off into the pits as a result of this, and yes, he will be. You can see the pit indicator on the top of the def panel there,
Yeah,
as he now makes his way through the chicane. And I thought for a minute there, Gal was going to do a Galdonado on him there, but clearly not. As Lopez now heads
not
into the
this
pit,
time.
obviously for a set of wet weather tyres, as does the Williams and the Ferrari behind. So
Yeah, what I
obviously
wanted
people.
to say is that if people are darting onto the wet tire now, the chance of it getting dry by the end could be dropping quite a lot, as we're on board the Miklos Gal for a wet lap here in Barcelona. If things don't improve with the weather, we'll be expecting him to remain in last place just behind his teammate David Kupok. But my goodness me, AlphaTauri, what exactly has gone wrong?
I don't know indeed, but yeah, as you can see actually from the sky, it's actually quite bright in the sky actually now. So as you were talking there, the sky has
In the
got a little
first
bit
sector,
bright.
a little bit, yeah,
It
but
has
for the
got a
lap
bit brighter
times,
on that track. So I wonder if it is going to dry up as quickly as we than what we originally thought. But anyway, Anderson
might
going
be the
around
case.
is now
Tell you
going
what,
around the.
Sector 1 definitely looks a little bit brighter. Maybe time for entry
Um,
conditions or something like that. The cars are still kicking up some spray, and sorry to interrupt you all the time. Ooh, Perrin is struggling there. Alright, well, Pernian had a little bit of a moment there. He's 12 seconds off the pace right now, as I think Joe has a mic issue or something because he's muted himself. But in any case, as with Pernian right now, he's going very slowly, as a matter of fact, as is Miklos Gal, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on with these lap times. The sky appears to be getting bright in sectors 1 and 2, but the cars They're not getting any faster as we're on board with our car. It was just gone off the track massively, went onto the gravel trap, thankfully avoids contact with the Haas. I think Joe's returned in the meantime. He made a move on the Haas there looking to turn 1, forced that car wide. Then onto turn 2, he just aquaplaned, got a snap of understeer, and into the gravel he goes. Thankfully got back safely.
It's more like oversteer to me, in fact, but yeah, I had to do something. It wasn't a mic issue. So, anyway, as Gar is actually now getting back on the prowl of the Haas, it might not take him too long. That was very close indeed, but he's got the move done regardless there. And
wouldn't have been the first time a Mercedes and the Haas collided at that corner in the recent period, as Freighter's just spun.
Oh, he has. It seems like because he was on the edge of the track, obviously, and yeah, and well, he was actually on the white line, as you can see, and then it seems like he got a little bit too greedy with the accelerator, and it's just spun him round.
Well, if you touch the grass in the wet conditions, you better say your prayers because there's not much you can do, even if you're the best in the world.
Indeed, so as he's waiting for a gap in the traffic, of course, to get out, unless he's actually beached it in the gravel, and he's not moving because there's no cars coming. Well, there is now, but it was a while. There was a bit of a gap between those two cars, so I do wonder if he's actually beached it in the gravel. If that is the case, maybe the marshal will need to come and help him out. So, yeah,
has he kept the engine running though?
Indeed, so, and well, he looks
no,
like
I think he's done.
Well, there's more cars coming by, so it is hard to say whether he's actually... No, he's got it going. He has got it going. He was waiting for traffic, and he might have to wait a little bit because I can see... No, he's actually just got out before more cars started to travel past. So
yeah, I had a little bit of a clean pocket between those cars, roughly about a 8-second or so gap. He's rejoined safely in it, so all well and good. And yeah.
Indeed, as we now look at Miklos Gal, who's just making his way down towards the hairpin. One of the Alfa Romeos is starting to close him down. Not sure which one it is, because both of them are out there on the track.
Meanwhile, Gal is 16 seconds off the pace. So what on earth is going on? These cars are getting even slower. Maybe these guys are starting to suffer from some overheating, even on those tires. I'm not really sure myself.
Well, you got to remember, there is a soft and hard variant of the normal wet tire, so that could be a factor. And did he make a mistake? No, it's probably just he was probably on a harder set of tires. Who knows, really?
He then slowed down for the yellow there, so still he lost 10 seconds in sector 2 alone. In any case, yeah, not sure, really. My goodness, these lap times are atrocious as Miklos Gal is about to cross the line to end this lap. It is a 1 minute 44.8. Not the sort of lap time you'd expect to see at Barcelona, mind you. But yeah, he's got Federic coming up behind him.
Indeed, as the Alpha continuing to close up. But as mentioned earlier, there is a soft and hard variant of the normal wet tyre. So the harder tyre, of course, obviously a lot slower than the softer variant. So that could be a factor as well. And I wonder if that's the tyre that Gal is on, given how quickly the Alfa Romeo is closing up to him around the right-hander. That Alfa Romeo being there, and it looks like it's just going to be a simple pass going into turn 4 there.
Yeah, indeed. Andre Federic not having to work too hard for it. Another issue I'd like to touch on, as Zontag is stuck behind the Haas there. I believe that might be Wilson, or could be Fraser if he's gone back out not too much traffic. It is Fraser there. Look, you can see the number 11 only just. Don't tell me he's gonna go wide again. Thankfully not. But what I want to touch on is, of course, engine performance. As straight line speed could be quite crucial. And from what we've seen so far, Mercedes and Renault seem to have done a rather good job. As George Roque had a little bit of a moment there on the Exo Bank Sabadell, and not too much.
Oh, as Honda as well. You kind of forgot Honda on that list because they're 2nd and 5th at the moment. So,
yeah. Well, this isn't exactly a power track. We haven't seen too much of what this engine can do in the straight line. If we stay on board with Roque now, we might be able to get an idea of what sort of speed this car can peak at.
You can see the speed is going to 300. Well, we did, but unfortunately because of the auto cam, it didn't want us to. So,
so far, Galloway 20 seconds off the pace.
I was going to say Galloway hasn't been out on track for a while, but finally he's made his way out on track, presumably on the normal wet tyres, as Gal just makes his way out to the final turn, and he will now cross the line.
It's only the Renaults we're waiting for.
Both Byrne and Perinen are currently in the pit lane as we speak. As now we look at Quagga, who's just about to cross the line there. As we see everybody is now on the normal wet tyres. So, mate, will we get any dry running? As Rob said a little bit earlier, probably less likely, but we will see, of course. Now, of course, a couple of things I want to point out as De Rosa has a bit of a wiggle through into turn 5, of course. One change that is happening for this season, though, in the top class, of course, is the practice sessions, of course. Now, obviously, last season it was increased to 30 minutes from 5 minutes. Well, this season it's been increased to 40 minutes. Hence why you may have noticed on the timetable, qualifying actually says 4:45 instead of 4:30 like it has been in previous seasons. That is because we have increased the practice sessions to 14 minutes, and it's obviously to give us commentators a chance to talk more, given that, of course, because it's the fantasy era, it should give us a little bit more to talk about than what the previous era did.
Yeah, very well reasoned. And in the meantime, one other thing I want to touch on so far, that if I speak about it, it could be a little bit of commentator's curse. Even though many teams have been very inconsistent over these past few days, none of them have had any sort of bad reliability.
No, not so far at least. No, we haven't seen any signs of a car having any mechanical failures. We didn't see one yesterday. We haven't got one today either. But of course, tomorrow, of course, we're heading off to Sakira, of course, which is a power-dependent track, as we know. Obviously, you need a little bit of downforce, but it's mostly power-dependent. And who knows? Maybe the engines will be put up to its works there tomorrow, and whether we'll see any mechanical failures over the next 2 days, we'll have to wait and see, of course. But yeah, so
And don't
far,
forget, we'll be running in higher temperatures. And I just think, as we're in the weather right now, Sakira is generally a higher destination in Barcelona, so the engines will be up to higher temperatures, of course. And there will be a chance, of course, definitely of some bad reliability for some teams. It'll tell us a lot of things tomorrow.
Yes, indeed, and of course you got to remember as well. Like obviously, those two testing sessions take place at night as well, of course. So even at night, it's usually the temperatures are quite high as well. Even though it's cooler than what it usually is in the day, it's still quite humid.
Yeah,
So
indeed.
something to bear in mind that as well as we see
You
Mikos
mean
Gallagher.
quite arid, right?
As we see Gal will be coming into the pits this lap, of course, maybe to go on the softer set of the normal wet tyre, as he's now got two other cars starting to approach him. One of them, I think, is Franco Lopez, and the other one, well, given that he's been overtaken by one Alfa Romeo, you would imagine it's the other Alfa Romeo of Roman
Yeah, it should
Quark.
be, but let's watch Lopez go for the move here down into the chicane. No problems there. But I think everybody's on the hard tire of the wets, judging by just how far of the pace everybody is. It's very surprising as we're on board with George Roque, and what sort of lap time will he get as we got 12 minutes on the clock? I think the chances of some dry running are pretty much close to none, but let's see what Roque is going to set either way. It is a 1 minute 41.1. My goodness, 20 seconds off the pace.
Indeed, just way off with these conditions at the moment, and well, they just don't seem to have pace at the moment. As now we look at Gal, who's just making
The
his way.
track doesn't even really look that bad. It's very surprising.
Well, you don't know, of course, but we see Gal is now going to be heading into the pits. Let's see if because I would imagine that he's on the harder set of the normal wet, so we'll see if he gets onto the softer compound when he gets back into the pits and see if he does any lap times that are better in these conditions. So, meantime, we look at Julius Anderson now. Then he's just making his way towards what George likes to mention all the time in the highlights, the Mickey Mouse chicane. And he just makes his way through the section of corners. And we talked about, just before we went on the air, Rob, about Aston Martin, because I think it's fair to say that Aston, to be honest, I'm a little bit surprised about, to be honest, because after last season, where they were basically, they got a victory last season and a 1-2, and the fact that they had good pace last season when they were Racing Point, this season, I kind of expected them to build on that for this season, but so far, judging from the 2 days, they seem to be struggling at the moment.
Yeah, indeed, the rebrand hasn't quite worked to their advantage so far, but of course, today and yesterday might not be fully representative. They still got that behemoth Mercedes engine in the back of that car, and even though they appear to be struggling, keyword appear, in Bahrain they could completely turn things around, so just watch this pace, because they weren't always quick all the time in 2020, so for their sake, they're hoping this is just another off day, this and yesterday. Maybe they got some more pace than what they're showing.
One thing that has been common, as Evan just pointed out in the stream chat, in fact, is that so far Anderson seems to have had the measure on Motrin, and it seemed to be a common thing last time when they were teammates as well. It always seemed like Anderson had the measure of Motrin, but of course, because of poor sign-up choices, obviously in the end, Anderson did end up getting a seat for 2018, whereas Motrin did, of course. And it seems so far Anderson, just like he did in 2017, so far having the measure of Motrin so far in these tests. But of course, they are early days. But so far, it seems like the same thing like 2017 between those two.
I wouldn't really want to compare. It's just testing. Nobody is pushing, so you always need to keep that in mind.
Indeed, so as Anderson again makes his way through into the chicane, coming up behind Rahul Patel, of course, because we're riding on board. In fact, with Laura Chung is trying to find her way through past one of the McLarens. Not sure which McLaren that is she's trying to overtake, whether that's Willows or De Rosa, as Chung makes her way through the long swooping right hand of turn 8, as it's actually De Rosa, in fact, because that is the Francois Sever helmet, because Kara likes to head off to the Middle East at the Bahrain International Circuit. We will have the final 2 days of top class preseason testing, but then of course we'll have a day off before we head off for the Formula E preseason test, which also takes place at the Bahrain International Circuit this Saturday, of course. So
And on the
that's all.
regular layout, no less.
Yes, indeed, rather than the outer layout, which is what they'll be racing on during the season, like they did last season. As Perinen just gets by there on one of the Alpha Towers. Perinen, so far, it looks like he's going to be finishing the session, unless the track dramatically improves. He's going to finish in 10th position, as Q-Pot now being overtaken by Renault as well. And, well, we talked about how off the pace the Alpha Tauri seemed to be during the last 2 races. If there's anything to go by, unless he's on the harder compound of the wet tyres, it seems that the car just seems to struggle in wet conditions as well.
Yeah, if you don't have a lot of grip and a lot of mechanical grip in your car, you're obviously not going to be dry in the wet, but in the dry, you're not going to be getting it dry. When you get to the wet conditions, the lack of mechanical grip really compounds to your misery. In the wet, downforce doesn't really matter that much because high-speed corners aren't that high speed. It's all about mechanical grip, of course, and just keeping the car in a straight line. You need to have good balance. And if your car is slow in the dry, struggles with balance all the time, you're not going to have a good time in the wet either, and that appears to be the case for AlphaTauri right now.
Patel is driving for Lamborghini, Leighton. Just thought I would point that one out. As Galloway, we just saw there, just overtaking, I think it was a McLaren there he overtook, if I'm not mistaken. Meanwhile, the top two, which is ironically the two Francos, currently in the pits at the moment, and looks like they're just holding back for the moment in terms of wet running. Although
the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah, indeed. But so far, a familiar order to what we've been used to last season at the moment, the top three. But whether that will be the case this season, judging from yesterday, it might not be. It might be different every race we go. But so far, it seems like Mercedes were kind of giving some people some false sense of security.
Maybe so. Most of all, you need to give kudos to Red Bull and to Renault because they're looking the most consistent out there. Byrne was 5th yesterday, now he's 4th. Pernian was 9th yesterday, now he's 10th. So fluctuating where they were yesterday. And Red Bull doing very well on both days, even though they didn't exactly hit that P1 spot. Also, you need to keep in mind Mercedes, they clearly underperformed yesterday. Haas as well, very impressive performance from Wilson there. She's in P6, great effort. I've never seen her that high up. But yeah, Byrne, I think will be very happy after these 2 days of testing. Of course, if it doesn't improve, he's got his ticket for day 4 all secured. And yeah, Gamba as well as a whole lot of other people, I believe. As his Brennan is just coming into the pits for maybe some new tires, I assume. But in any case, you have Roman Quag finishing a lap, and let's see what sort of lap time he's going to send the Alfa Romeo. They've made a little bit of a step up from yesterday, I think, Alpha.
Could they be overachieving though? That's also a thing to bear in mind as well. Maybe the same for Wilson. You don't know, of course. So,
well, given that Wilson's teammate is 4 or 5 tenths down from her, might be the case, but it's always too early to say, you know.
Meantime,
there are no points in this test. It's just information gathering. They're gathering, call it whatever you want, but this is not when people are pushing. Everybody is holding back. It's just that some people are holding back more than others, and we don't know who. We will only have the full picture when we actually go racing.
Indeed, we just saw there that Gal actually went right wide going into turn 1 there, so a bit of an error for Miklos Gal. and it seems that AlphaTauri just seems to be so far all over the place during these 2 days. As meantime, Galloway now trying to pass one of the Ferraris. Let's see what the Ferrari is like on the straight
You mean
compared
the
to the
Aston
Mercedes.
Martin?
I mean, engine-wise,
Yeah.
and
No, no,
seems the
mate,
Ferrari.
you were saying he was trying to pass one of the Ferraris, Galloway was.
Oh, sorry.
Never
As
mind, no problem.
Quark now then just goes through the hairpin there, as he now makes his way
Tell you
through.
what, Joe, the track is getting faster. Quag was only 13 seconds there in the middle sector this time. Usually it was about 15. So the track is getting faster. I think it's a little too late for some dry running, as Byrne has
We
just
saw
made a move in the Lambo.
we saw as well people who were on the harder compound of the normal wets. They were usually 17 seconds off the pace of Lopez. So that may be something also to bear in mind. As
Yeah, of
Quad
course.
meanwhile comes across the line, and we're not going to find out, of course, as Rote now tries to overtake Quark's teammate Videri, which he does successfully. 4.3 seconds off of Lopez in the first sector. As he will now approach, in fact, one of the Mercedes.
Usually it was 5, so the track is clearly starting to get quicker. But we run out of time. Let's see how far down Lopez will be as his teammate makes a move on the Williams.
Yes, indeed, and yeah, so it looks like the conditions are improving, but it looks like he may have come a little bit too late. It seems because as you can see, we have just
going up the hill
to
there, the sky is starting to brighten up, and but when you head down here towards La Caixa, it still looks pretty bad.
Indeed, so and yeah, all these times were done before the dry, George. So the Mercedes is currently first and third. Lopez, if we're looking at overall performance, and I think I might actually do a graphic on that, in fact, just to compare how the drivers have done over the 2 days, because I think the dry running that we had.
I think that would be the second best lap we've got, of course, because Galloway's was obviously the best, but he had a little bit of a gap to P2 yesterday.
Did indeed. I think it was actually just over 2 tenths. He was quicker than Garber yesterday. So I think Lopez would slot in front of Garber's lap from yesterday. But
yeah,
of course,
speaking of Lopez, only 13.5 seconds down. So like we agreed, track is getting quicker. It's just not getting quicker quickly enough.
As Lopez makes his way through the chicane there, then as he will now make his way towards the final corner, and he will now make his way onto the straight. And by the way, I hope you guys also like the graphics I made. It seemed like it got a positive response, judging from Twitter and Discord. So
you got a lot of plus 10s, didn't you?
A lot of plus 10s for that, in fact. So hope you like the new graphics, because they will be used as well during the reformatted highlights in a way. Well, I say reformatted, more like a way to try and cut down on the lengthy videos that I've got planned. So
yeah, cut down on some of the filler.
Basically. So hopefully we get the sort of lengths like we got in 2014. Hopefully. But
I don't want to be mean, but we're gonna get to watch drivers come into the pits just 2 times instead of the regular 4 times. Just messing with you.
Well, obviously the way I'm going to do it with people coming into the pits when they're not on camera is obviously going to be, I think, better than what I did in the past. So then that way it's not going to be too lengthy. But anyway, we just saw that Griffiths was actually 14 seconds off of Lopez in the first sector. Now, I'm not sure what he did previously, but as you were saying earlier, it does look like the track conditions are improving a little bit. But
and don't forget, Griffiths is in a pretty bad car, so it's a good improvement.
Griffith's actually in 14th today, so he's actually had a pretty good
Lopez 12.9 down. Track has gone half second faster since the last lap, but there just ain't enough time as Griffiths has a close run in there. The Alfa Romeo Fideri coming into the pits. His session is done. There's no way he's getting back out in time.
We're now going to be riding on board with the drivers for the remaining bit, because as you can see, we've not got that long left in the session. Griffiths crosses the line and does that lap time.
Obviously impeded by Fideri in last sector. But Wilson, definitely the biggest surprise of today. Should be very happy that P6, she's not done just yet, but you can tell nobody behind her will improve, and neither will she.
With she and Garma, they're doing a 138. Same with Lopez, a 138.5 to be exact. Roman Quag across the line does a 137.3 in the wet conditions, so they're finding a little bit more pace than what Lopez has done so far in these conditions. Let's have a look in comparison with the AlphaTauri, because they've been struggling in these conditions. Across the line goes Miklos Gal, and it's a 1 minute 40.178. So yeah, they're still way off.
Need to keep the tires in mind, of course, but the AlphaTauri are looking atrocious. Let's see what Laura Chung's got in the bag, as we got 40 seconds left in the session.
here she comes now then, coming around the Mickey Mouse chicane that George keeps alluding to in the highlights. Hello, George. It's now coming around the final corner and onto the pit straight we go now then. So Chung is now going to cross the line and she does a 1 minute 38.919. Wonder if she was on the harder compound of normal wets, but even so, 2 seconds quicker than the Alpha Tauri, as Anderson didn't improve. Well, obviously doesn't improve. I think he did a one. Did I say 1:39 there? So that's the same time as what
I think it
got.
was 1:49 nil or something like that. Either way, feeling
Either way,
some will cross the line just about now.
As we're going to see now which car is going to cross the line last, and it seemed like Anderson was only just quicker than Q-Puck.
Rock's not going to make it, so Hiroshima De Rosa will be the last one. 2-1-0, checkered is out. That's the end of the second test. Now we just need to wait for the drivers to get done.
Yes, indeed. As Roke is now going to cross the line now then, and he does a 1:36.5 that time. Car crosses the line, 1:36.
Very, very solid time for Roke there. Wilson got one last lap in the tank. Let's see what she'll set this time around.
So Griffiths there just going into the pits. Wilson down the pit straight, she will now go in the Haas. Across the line, she will now go. The Deutsche Post Haas F1 team, and 1:38.253 there for Wilson. Her teammate didn't get out in time to do a lap. Garber off the pace, looked like got held up there by Fraser's 1:37.5 for Lopez, as Quag does a quicker time than what he did last lap at 1:36.3. As Perenin crossed the line at 1:38.4. Here comes Miklos Gau in the Alpha Tauri as he makes his way through the final turn onto the pit straight. He will now go now then, and Gal is going to cross the line at 1:39.536 for Miklos Gau. Here comes Laura Chung now then. She will now make her way towards the chicane. The Aston Martin in front didn't get out in time to do one more flying lap. Through the chicane we go. Through the left.
Either way, looks like she's been compromised just a little bit on this lap, but let's see what she's going to set nevertheless.
This is now coming down down the straight now then as Chung crosses the line, and she does not, well, does a 1:38 that time by. I keep on tempted to say doesn't improve, but obviously they can't improve because they're in the wet conditions. 1:39.1 for Anderson. Q-Puck crosses the line, 1:39.1 as well. De Rosa
came in,
and he was the last one anyway, so there you go. So it was Lopez, Gamba, and Carl was the top three. So judging from the dry running, Rob, what did you make of that session?
Well, you need to always cross-reference this with what we've seen yesterday. And from these 2 days, I have something to say. It's looking really, really good for Red Bull. They've been consistently up there, and while the rest of the field was fluctuating all the time, they've always kept the car on top. Now, you all obviously need to keep in mind Mercedes have made a major step up since yesterday. Maybe some new setups, maybe some different programs, something like that. But yeah, it's a shocker for McLaren. I don't know what's happened to all the pace they had yesterday. Ferrari, Chatfield doing roughly about the same. Galloway struggling. So Galloway lost his mojo a little bit from day one. But Mercedes and Haas made some major steps forward today.
Indeed so. Well, that has been it then for day 2 of preseason testing, and of course the final day here at Barcelona. Been a very, very interesting day yet again, and it seems Mercedes might have got their form back, or will they? We don't know, of course. Of course, this was the last day at Barcelona because the next 2 days will be heading off to Sakhir for days 3 and 4, of course. Day 4, of course, we'll be seeing the test drivers in action, and some of them have already won their battles today, and I will go through that on Discord a little bit later on. But until then, that has been it. I hope you enjoyed it. We might see some different commentators tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see, of course.
You definitely won't see me because I'll be at work.
Okay, fair enough. So we will at least have one different commentator, but we will see, of course. But in the meantime, that has been it. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching. I've been JW97. He's been Robert Ionescu, and we will see you tomorrow for day 3 of preseason testing, the first day at the Bahrain International Circuit. Till then, take care.
I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Take care.